Is This a Great Game or What? With the Hall of Famer Tim Kurkjian. I'm his son, Jeff Kurkjian, and another episode locked and loaded, Dad. And I'm seeing you on TV a lot right now.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot lately, Jeff. But before we get to that, listen, I need my watch back, okay? I've gone now 2 weeks without my watch. I left it at your house. And Jeff, look, I'm not some anal retentive idiot who, has to know what time it is every second of the day, but I've gone 2 weeks without a watch. And it's not like I'm useless without it, but I have a little trouble without it. Do you wear a watch every day?
Every single day, but I wear an Apple Watch, so it also gives me like text notifications and calls, and it also alerts me if I were to be butt dialing somebody, which maybe that could help you out a little bit because you have a tendency to butt dial everybody. My biggest fear is not that you butt dial me or my wife Emily or your son-in-law Mark. No, I think you're going to butt dial Johnny Bench or Cal Ripken Jr., Ken Griffey Jr., you're going to butt dial one of them. They're going to say, Tim, I heard your pocket for 12 minutes. You left me a voicemail.
All right. What does this have to do with my watch? Does your Apple Watch tell time also?
Yes.
It's
Apple
a watch. I just want something to see what time it is.
Yeah, it tells time, but you got to charge it every night. That's a lot of technology for you to handle. Now, the only reason why I would have known that you were missing your watch was I overheard a conversation. I was on the phone with Mom, and you popped into her car and said, sorry, I'm looking for my watch. And you were looking, I guess, in her car for your watch. And then I was cleaning your bedroom. We just call it Pop-Pop's bedroom, right? The one in the front of the house when you're here recording the podcast.
Right.
And there it was, hanging out underneath the bed.
Well,
it had fallen off of the end table and bounced underneath the bed.
Now, Jeff, I am a bit of a stickler, as you know, that if you have clocks in your house, they should work and they should be on the correct time. I mean, I don't have to be like within 30 seconds of every other clock. I'm not that stupid. Does it bug you at all that in Kelly's house, Kelly and Mark have this gigantic clock and they haven't changed it to Eastern Daylight Time? It's still an hour off. Am I wrong about this?
Dad, that's always, I think they moved from Chicago. I'm pretty sure their clocks are still in Central Time.
But they moved here 4 years ago.
Yeah, they didn't even have the same oven they have there, and that one's on Central Time too.
All right, I'm just curious if our listeners and our viewers feel the same way that I do. Now, again, I can be a bit excessive, when the clocks go forward or the clocks go back. The first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is reset the clocks. Do other people do that, or is this something I need to stop doing?
No, Dad, I'm the same way, and I think it's the father-son in me. And the other day we lost power.
Right.
And it was only for like 30 seconds. I started resetting my clocks, my microwave, my oven, and then we lost power again for 30 seconds.
Right.
My wife looked at me and said, why didn't you just wait? Couldn't you wait? There was only 2 minutes in between, Dad. I went upstairs, I made sure everybody was safe. I had a flashlight, and then boom, they came on, and I went beep, 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 beep. And I reset it because it was off by, 12 hours because it was now reset to midnight.
All right.
Dad, I'm with you. We're pathetic.
All right.
There's a decorative clock in my basement. I always set it to the right time.
All right. Now, Jeff, we're both in a deadline business. I've been in one my entire life. I worked on deadline at the newspaper business for 13 years. Story is due at 10 p.m., 11:30, 12:30. If it's not in, it's late, and we missed the edition. You can't be late. Now that I also do TV, Baseball Tonight starts at 6 o'clock, not 6:05. You have to be ready to do the show. And yes, I've been on TV a lot lately, Jeff, with the trade deadline and all that. Plus, we kicked off the Little League, regional tournament heading towards Williamsport, where you and I will be interviewing Carl Ravitch and Todd Frazier. It's going to be great. And I did doubleheader last Saturday in Bristol and a doubleheader on Sunday. And I'm just captivated by these kids playing baseball. It is so cool. So I can't wait till Williamsport. And I just love this time of year. And so do you, right?
Oh, it's my favorite time of year. In fact, just a couple hours ago, we're recording this episode a little bit later than usual per you being busy on ESPN this afternoon. And so I was like, what is going to be on TV at noon because I'm home from the morning show and I'm editing our interview for tomorrow, which is Steve Phillips. We'll get into that in a little bit. But I was like, I just need some white noise. And I turn on my TV and thinking, we're going to have daytime talk shows. No, Little League World Series regional games are on. And it's the best thing ever, Dad. And this sounds cheesy. This sounds corny, but I have such a core memory. My daughter, McKinley, your granddaughter, will be 2 on August the 10th. And I remember bringing her home from the hospital and sitting there watching game after game after game, holding my newborn baby of wall-to-wall coverage on ESPN of the Little League World Series.
Yeah.
And I will never forget that. It sounds silly. And then the greatest wife in the world let me leave with only a 6-day-old in order to go up and see you. And I brought my father-in-law with me for his very first time. I mean, talk about the greatest. The only thing greater was my buddy, his wife let him buy golf clubs with a 2-week-old. That was by far the biggest win I've ever heard in my life. There's no better wife in the world than my buddy's wife, Meg. I was shocked.
Right.
Shocked. And then when my wife, Emily, found out how much he sold his current clubs for, she said, well, maybe we should just sell your clubs. And I'm like, and get new ones? And I had to let her know, too. They're fit for me. I don't think anybody wants my clubs at all. They're going to be very disappointed.
Right. So, Jeff, the Little League was great. One of the games I did featured a Maryland team. And we, of course, are from Maryland, Montgomery County, Maryland. I love it that you live now in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. What are the chances of that? So the town that is right next to us, Germantown, that team made it to Bristol, Connecticut for the regional. And it was so cool because Grayson Greenbaum, the number 12 hitter for the Germantown team, is the great nephew of Bernie Greenbaum, who is a childhood friend of mine and my dentist. So we had such a person. I was so familiar. All these kids go to school like 5 minutes from where we live, or where you used to live. I mean, we had kids that go to Lakelands Park and Mary of Nazareth. It was just like, I don't know any of these kids other now than Grayson Greenbaum, but it was really, really cool to see kids from this close in.
Yeah, probably Kingsview kids where I went to middle school, or Ridgeview, 2 different middle schools I went to. That's so neat to have that local shout out. That's special.
And I talked to the coach, and the coach went to Churchill right around the corner, and he said, my kids are going to Quince Orchard, which is where you and Kelly went to school. So it was really, really cool. Plus, Jeff, there was a Washington, D.C. team in there, and they had a kid named Josh Morgan Jr. He is the son of Josh Morgan, who played 8 years in the NFL. Josh Morgan Jr., Jeff, is 5'11", 165 pounds, is the fastest kid on the field, and he is 11 years old. And I could say without hesitation, he is the biggest, strongest, most incredibly athletic 11-year-old that I've ever seen. And his first 2 at-bats, he hit 2 triples in which he ran around the bases so fast, no one on the field could beat him in a race, and he's bigger by far than anybody else on the field. It was just stunning to see a kid who was that big. I said, who is that? And one of the coaches said, that's my son. He's 11. Jeff, he was way taller than the second base umpire. He's the shortstop standing right next to the second base umpire, and it was like a man among boys. It was incredible. I loved it.
How embarrassing was it when you were umpiring? I know this happened to me when I was umpiring, when the catcher would stand up in a 12U game and you can't see what's going on the field.
Yeah.
All the time it happens to me.
Right. Happened all the time to me. So, yes, big kids, little kids are everywhere. And as you know, Jeff, at the Little League World Series and in the regionals, I just love to read the bios of all the kids. My favorite bio is the kid who wrote years ago. He wrote, what dinosaur has the best vocabulary? Answer, the thesaurus, which I still think is one of the funniest things I've ever heard. A 12-year-old told that joke. So in these bios, I found a kid named Caden McCarthy who plays for the Massachusetts team, which is really good. And he is like an alpine skier, Jeff, like a very accomplished
Wow.
alpine skier who like competes all over the country. He's 12 years old. And it said in the bio, I didn't get a chance to ask him, but he practices by skiing on glaciers. Sounds a bit dangerous to me, but apparently he's great at it. So these little bios that just tell you a little bit about these kids, I think is so cool. And one of his teammates was Logan Needle, Needle, and his nickname, and it took me a second to figure this out. His nickname is Haystack, which I
Needle in a haystack.
I thought that was pretty clever. Now, Jeff,
Very clever.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Each kid has to put down his favorite celebrity. Okay, so we have Kevin Hart. We got a ton of Adam Sandlers. And I'm just asking for a ruling here, Jeff. I'm not trying to be critical or flippant or anything else, but one of the kids put down Joey Chestnut as now. Is Joey Chestnut does he belong on that list?
I'll give it to him.
Is he a celebrity
for sure?
Because he can eat 65 hot dogs?
He is very talented. He's a record holder. I would say celebrity status for sure.
Okay, well, I asked this on the air, and Mark Brown, the play-by-play guy, kind of looked at me like I was an idiot and said, of course he's a celebrity. So nothing against Joey Chestnut. I just found it odd. You know, you got Jackie Robinson, you've got Adam Sandler, you got all these people that you love, and here comes Joey Chestnut. I got a kick out of it. Let's put it that way.
Joey Chestnut, add him to the list, producers, of the guests we want to get on, along with Lin-Manuel Miranda. All right? I'm looking at the hypothetical producers.
Right,
I'm just writing down myself.
Right. As we know, Jeff, you are the producer, the director.
Team of two here.
Right, the creative, the technological wizard, everything. All right, so
yeah, our board meetings, everybody thinks I'm schizophrenic. Anyway.
Right. Okay, Jeff. So those are my quick, just thoughts about Little League World regionals. We're going to the World Series soon. It's going to be absolutely great. Okay.
It's going to be, Dad, I'm so excited. It's the most exciting time of the year. If you happen to be down at Williamsport and you're going to be a part of the weekend, make sure to come see us at the GameChanger tent on Monday, August 18th. It's going to be an absolutely incredible week, but that's when we're going to be out there. We're going to be doing an exclusive pin drop, and I have an example of that. If you're watching on YouTube right now, you can see that, and we'll also be giving you an opportunity, if you can't be out at Little League, to win some pins as well. All right, Dad, the trade deadline. Now, granted, it was last week, but now we're kind of seeing the chips all fall, and I wanted to kick off the takeaways. Are you okay with that?
Yes, and let's be clear, Jeff. Another reason that we're looking at the trade deadline is our guest on Wednesday, Steve Phillips, is a former general manager who told some fascinating and hilarious stories about what it's like being a general manager, especially at the trade deadline. So, yes, we're going to have you do the takeaways. Kick off.
Well, as a Philadelphia Phillies fan, and we don't hide that away because I think it's important to more or less root for the team of the city you live in if it doesn't conflict with your childhood, right? And so my wife and I moved here in 2022, and we really embraced this team as our own because my wife had never lived in a city that had a team. And so that team made a run to the World Series kind of miraculously. And we jumped on the bandwagon, and we've been fans ever since. Their big trade to get closer Yoan Duran. The thing I love the most, Dad, is, first of all, everybody, including me, pronounces it a different way.
Right.
But now, everybody in Philly calls him Jhoan. Are you familiar with Jawn? So Jhoan is a slang term in Philly that means literally anything. This Jhoan right here. Look at that Jhoan over there. Give me that Jhoan. It's just that thing.
Right.
Just literally anything.
Right.
And so now people are buying shirts that say Jhoan, Jawn, Duran.
Really? Jeff, I have so little idea about so many things. I had no idea that was a slang term in Philadelphia.
Look at this, John. Exactly. Yeah. It's a big slang term, and people use it here all the time. And I've even caught myself using it occasionally. Right. However, Dad, I have to say, he has had 2 appearances as of Monday as the Philadelphia Phillies closer. First, was on the very first game he was eligible to play in, came into the 9th inning. The Twins had given the packaging, all of the audio, video elements, and all that stuff to the Phillies to be able to use. He came in with an absolute insane crowd, insane intro, the coolest intro in Major League Baseball, I believe. Maybe next to Edwin Diaz, right? That's a really cool one, too. And then he closes it out on 4 pitches. Then he comes up again on Sunday Night Baseball with our boy, Carl Ravitch on the call, Eduardo Perez, David Cohn, Buster Olney. They get a Sunday night game in Philadelphia against the Tigers, who are crazy good this season, too. And he makes another appearance and gets 3 outs, never giving up a hit.
Jeff.
Unbelievable. And it's such a great move, Dad, because it's keeping fans in their seats and hoping, oh my gosh, I want to see him come up. I want to see the intro. I want to be there for it.
Jeff, I'm all for it. And that Sunday night game, he threw 12 pitches, 10 of them at 100 miles an hour or more. So he's not just coming in and firing. He's getting people out, and he's throwing at a rate of speed that almost nobody does. Remember, Mariano Rivera used to enter Sandman, which was great. And when Trevor Hoffman used to come in for the Padres, he would come into Hell's Bells, and it was like unbelievable. But Trevor Hoffman's best pitch was a changeup. I was amazed that he would come in with this incredible music, and then he would throw, something at 84 miles an hour. Now Duran comes in throwing 102 miles an hour, which makes the whole walk-up even greater and more powerful. Agreed?
Yeah, agreed. And you know the whole drama surrounding his number 59. Are you familiar with what happened here?
No, I want you to tell me.
So he came in, and I'm sure you have a ton of stories about this, and I'm putting you on the spot. You don't have to have a story right now, but he wanted to wear number 59 for the Philadelphia Phillies because that's the number he loves to wear. However, when being traded, he was told, hey, number 59 is taken by Rob Thompson, the manager. And being of his culture and being the man he is, he said, well, no, I too much respect for the manager. I don't want to take his number. Don't even worry about it. Well, Rob Thompson got wind of that and gladly said he'll change numbers. But Rob Thompson did say, I don't have a problem with it, but my wife has a problem with it because now she has to get all new clothing for when she goes to games because she has a bunch of jerseys with 59 on it. So as married men, I could just hear my wife saying, well, don't give it up. And Rob Thompson says it doesn't mean anything to me. And then he said that Duran said, I have 59 in the bottom of my pool.
Well,
he has the number 59, Dad, in a pool.
Jeff,
at his house.
All right, then.
Can't change that.
Every manager in the world gives up his uniform number for a guy who throws 102 miles an hour and is closing down the 9th inning. It's a no-brainer. Sorry to Mrs. Thompson. Your husband did the right thing. No doubt.
So what other takeaways do you have, Dad, that you want to bring up? Thanks for letting me go down my rabbit hole.
Right. Just a couple. The Brewers are really good, Jeff. Someone asked me today, who's the best team in baseball? It's really hard to answer these days, but I think the answer is the Brewers. They've outscored their opponents through Sunday by 119 runs, biggest run differential. They just played a 3-game series against the Nationals, and in 3 games, they scored 38 runs and got 56 hits. In 3 games. It's unbelievable. And their pitching is really good. Their manager is really good. They have some elite defensive players. Boy, I really like where the Brewers are right now. Again, they've never won the World Series. They have a team that might be good enough to do that this year because I'm just not sure there's a great team out there. Phillies can win the World Series, Mets, Cubs, Dodgers, Padres, but the Brewers are in that group, and that's really saying something right now.
And did you see, Dad, in that series against the Nationals, every single starter in every single game reached base safely?
Yeah, that is, boy, you've been doing some nice research here, Jeff. I'm proud of you. You've been reading the box
scores. Didn't know if you were going to have that or not.
All right, last thing, Jeff. The Red Sox are hot, too. Through Sunday, they'd won 5 games in a row. allowed 11 runs total in those 5 games. They're only 3 games back of Toronto. And as Alex Cora said, this team is playing with an edge now. You can see it. Now, we've heard that before. Remember, this team won 10 games in a row and then kind of fell off a little bit. And then people were all upset. They didn't do anything at the trade deadline or didn't do enough at the trade deadline. But again, Jeff, the American League is wide open. There's no reason that the Red Sox can't win that division because all the races, other than, of course, the AL Central where the Tigers are running away, all those races are wide open. It'll be really fun.
All respect to the AL East leading Toronto Blue Jays, but how if the season ended right now, it would be the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees as wild card teams and the Blue Jays taking the division. I don't think very many people had that coming into the 2025 season.
Jeff, this has been one of the craziest years I've ever seen because it has made absolutely no sense, these are my favorite years, Jeff, when things happen and you just go, boy, I can't explain this. This is why baseball is so good. And on to the Quirkjians, Jeff, talking about things that you can't explain. So Friday night, the first night after the trade deadline, it was one of the craziest nights in baseball history. I'm not sure there's a way around it. We had 3 games in which 25 combined runs were scored. And there's only one other night, June 23rd, 1930, in which there were 3 games with at least 25 runs scored. It was a crazy night. And of course, the craziest night was the Rockies-Pirates game that night. Okay. So the Pirates became the first, this was all confirmed by Frank and Jhoan. I put both brothers on this one. First team ever, Jeff, to score 9 runs, get 10 hits in the first inning, and in that first inning have a 3-run homer and a grand slam. So no first inning in the history of baseball has ever included all of those things. And of course, the Pirates did all of that and they lost the game. So the Rockies became the first team ever to allow 9 runs in the first inning, allow a total of 15 or more runs, and still win the game.
And of all teams to do it, the Rockies.
Right.
Because we expect them to give up 9 runs in the first inning to a certain degree, but we don't expect them to come back from giving up 9 runs in the first inning. So good on them.
Yes. And also in that game, Joey Bart of the Pirates had 4 walks and a hit batter in a 9-inning game, which I found interesting. So I found the last player to walk 4 times and get hit by a pitch in the same game. So exactly that. 4 walks, hard to do. 1 hit by pitch, all in the same game. It was Bryce Harper in 2016 against the Cubs, Jeff. That was the game he was walked 6 times and got hit by a pitch. How about that? Now, that was an extra inning game, but still, they refused to pitch to Bryce Harper, and I certainly don't blame them for that.
I love that. 0 for 0.
Right. All right.
Always makes me
couple other
smile.
things. Jose Altuve got his 41st 4-hit game, okay? And our pal Steve Sparks alerted me. I did not know this. He's never had a 5-hit game. So he's had 41 4-hit games and has not had a 5-hit game. You find that odd? I mean, he's a great player. He's going to the Hall of Fame.
4-hit games.
You figure if you get 41 games with 4 hits, you're going to get a 5-hit game, and he hasn't done that. Edgar Martinez, Hall of Famer, one of the great hitters I've ever seen, had 26 4-hit games in his career and did not have a 5-hit game, in part because he walked all the time. But I love that. And Jeff, speaking of the Astros, I'm sure I'm repeating this. I think we used this last week, but I just love this so much. Carlos Correa, acquired from the Twins, is now the everyday third baseman for the Astros. And the shortstop, now that he's healthy, is Jeremy Pena, and they share the same birthday, September the 22nd. So the third baseman and the shortstop on the same team have the same birthday. I mean, what are the odds of that?
And isn't it crazy, too, that it was Pena that replaced Correa in the starting spot to begin with?
And they left, right.
You don't see that too often.
Right. Okay, 2 more strikeout notes, Jeff, because every week we have strikeout Quirkjians because it's a strikeout era and crazy things happen. So Cal Raleigh, who's, one of the 2 leaders for the MVP of the American League, had 0 for 5 strikeouts the other night. So he is the 7th player this year to strike out 5 times in a game. There were 7 of them all last year, so we're going to get more, I'm sure, than last year. The record is there were 12 5-strikeout guys in 2019. This is a record that I still think is in peril just because the pitching we see is absolutely ridiculous. And our last strikeout note, Ryan McMahon of the Yankees struck out 4 times in a game for the 5th time this season. The record is 7 times by Dick Allen in 1965, I want to say. That's the record for most 4 strikeout games in a season. Ryan McMahon has like 2 months to make sure he doesn't strike out 4 in a game 2 more times.
All right, Dad, what do you got for on this date in baseball history today, August the 5th?
Okay, on this date in 1990, Joe Morgan and Jim Palmer both were inducted into the Hall of Fame. I was there that day, and it was a biblical deluge. The rain was like nothing I have ever seen, and they had to move inside. So it really took away from the grandeur of the Hall of Fame. But I just love that those 2 guys went in because they competed against each other and all that. And Jim Palmer, we've been over how great he is a million times, so we won't go over it again. But Jim Palmer once told me the Reds were not the big red machine until Joe Morgan showed up. So let's be clear. As great as the Reds were in 1970 when the Orioles beat them, Brooks Robinson had one of the great series ever. When they won back-to-back in 75, 76, the Reds, Joe Morgan was the MVP both leagues and one of the great second basemen of all time. At worst, one of the 3 greatest second basemen of all time. And they both went in the Hall of Fame at the same time. On this date in 1999, Mark McGwire hit home run number 500. And Jeff, I'll never forget being around for McGwire's chase for, Roger Maris's record, which people have chosen to no longer pay attention to. Look, I understand some things happened that we didn't know about at the time, but trust me, Jeff, I was there for 60, 61, and 62. And it happened, and it was amazing how great that was. And in 1998, he hit a grand slam in 98, Jeff, and David Howard was his teammate. And this is the focus and the zone that these great hitters get into. Mark McGwire hits a grand slam. He comes back to the bench, and he's like still in this complete trance from this at bat. And David Howard looks at him and goes, "Way to go, Mac, grand slam." And Mark McGwire comes out of the trance and goes, "Were the bases loaded?" He didn't even know because it didn't matter to him. It was his job to do something big there. And he hit a grand slam and wasn't even aware that he had hit a grand slam. I love that. All right, on this date in 2007, Tom Glavine, who was one of our guests on the podcast this year, made us laugh, told us all about hockey. He won his 300th game. And Jeff, he is one of 6 pitchers ever, no one cares about this but me, since 1900 to win 300 games and walk 100 times as a batter. That's hard to do for a pitcher to walk 100 times, but only 6 pitchers have ever won 300 games since 1900 and also walked 100 times. Tom Glavine, in many ways, an underrated pitcher, even though he was on those great Atlanta Braves staffs.
I would say that people care about that. I thought when you said nobody cares about this except for me, you were going to hit me with he's the only pitcher to strike out 300 with a V in his last name with at least 6 letters in his last name on a cold, sunny day in a domed stadium.
Right. Well, I've had enough people make fun of me for that. All right, Jeff. Birthdays.
Ooh,
Bobby.
Did I strike a chord? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Bobby Keelty was born on this date in 1976. Jeff, this comes from Bill Chuck, by the way, who's one of our great friends, listens to the podcast all the time, is a statistical genius. You should read what he writes on the internet every day. Billy Ball. It's fascinating stuff. So I needed to pull from him what happened with Bobby Keelty in his career. So he played 599 regular season games. He played 3 division series games, 8 LCS games, but he only played in 1 World Series game in 2007. He pinch hit for Mike Timlin in the clinching game against the Colorado Rockies. So he pinch hit, he saw 1 pitch, he hit it for a home run. So that was the last plate appearance of his major league career was a home run as a pinch hitter on the only pitch he saw in the 2007 World Series, and never took another plate appearance in the big leagues. How amazing is that?
Well, that just blows David Ross right out of the water.
Exactly, because the David Ross thing, only guy ever to hit a home run in Game 7 of the World Series and then retire afterwards, okay? Well, that's pretty cool, but Bobby Kielty had no interest in retiring. That just ended up being the last plate appearance of his career. And last one, Jeff, I got to be careful with this. It's Carl Crawford's birthday. Carl Crawford was born in 1981. He was one of the best Tampa Bay Rays ever, unbelievably fast, a really, really good hitter, and just a dangerous man. So he was a great high school quarterback, but he was a running quarterback, and there was a chance he was going to go play at like Nebraska. That's how good he was. So I shouldn't tell this, but I'm going to anyway. So as part of a little piece we were doing in spring training back when I got to do all sorts of ridiculous stuff in spring training, Sean Fitzgerald, our producer, said, Tim, we want you to run some pass patterns, and we're going to have Carl Crawford throw footballs to you because he was a great high school quarterback. So, Jeff, you know how much I love. Look, I'm not a football player. I wasn't good enough, and I was way too small. I would have gotten killed. But you know how much I love to run past
skinny post.
Right,
down
skinny post. Down, out, and down, corner routes, posts, all that stuff. So we do this. So I'm running around in the outfield on the baseball field in spring training, and Carl Crawford, and this is where I got to be careful. He threw like 6 of the worst passes I've ever seen. I'm like 5 yards away from him, and he throws it so hard that it just goes flying over my head. After like 7 passes to me, he finally threw one that I could actually catch. I really don't think I dropped any of them before that, Jeff, but we just couldn't connect on a pass. And I wasn't exactly running a deep route. I was just running something like a little square out or a little down and in. And finally, I was able to catch a pass from Carl Crawford.
He was a scrambling quarterback, Dad.
He was a running quarterback. There is no doubt. And I think he proved it that day while he was throwing to me in the outfield. And maybe, just maybe, I was too small of a target for him. So Elliot Johnson, our friend who did our podcast once, Elliot Johnson somehow was watching all of this. And he looks at me afterwards and he goes, Carl's arm was a little erratic today, wasn't it? And I'm thinking, thank God somebody else saw this. I took the blame for this one. I'm not sure it was my fault. So yes, wow. I caught passes from Carl Crawford. Pretty good.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Well, Dad, before we get to your team, Tim, which you have just been absolutely crushing it, we have one from a member of the family, someone who emailed us. We get so many of these. In fact, Dad, I've had people who just sign their emails. They'll email about something completely different, and then they'll be like, hey, here's my all-condiment team. Like, just as their signature to the email, which I think is so endearing. John Schnitzer, he wrote to us. He said, I love your all whatever teams. So I put together my all ranch/farm team. So I'm going to read it for you, Dad. In the infield, you've got Kyle Farmer of the Rockies. You got Spencer Steer of the Reds.
Love the first
Abraham Toro, which is like a bull. Or, right. For me personally, I was thinking of like the lawnmower, right? Isn't that a lawn? Did we have a Toro growing up?
Yeah, we did. I had the lawn mowing responsibilities of the house taken away because I wasn't very good at it. I think the spin rate on the lawnmower wasn't very good, so I got replaced by the advanced metrics. Go ahead.
Dad, I don't want to make fun of this moment, but a lot of people can relate to this. I know how hard it was for when we all had to, tell your mom, Nana, like, okay, you're no longer driving, right? We had to take the keys. But your wife, my mom, when she took the keys of the lawnmower, it was like that. She's like, Tim, we're getting a lawn guy. See ya.
Right. All right.
She's a lawyer.
I think she wanted me to be like Edward Scissorhands or something, like doing all these. Yeah. All right. What's the rest of the team?
Ben Rice of the Yankees, and then Jose Caballero, which is a horseman.
Right.
Right. And then the outfield, Colton Cowser
Right.
of the Orioles, Mike Trout
Right.
of the Angels, Austin Hayes
Right.
of the Reds. Hey. Miles Straw of the Blue Jays.
Like it. Good. Hayes and Straw. Okay.
Logan O'Hoppe of the Angels.
Right. Catcher.
Love him.
Good player.
Hops Farm.
Right.
Yeah. Pitchers, Mike Burrows of the Pirates.
Burrow is
like
Burrow is like
it's a mule.
Right.
Yeah, donkey. Burro. Brian King of the Astros, King's Ranch. Tanner Bybee of the Guardians, like a hide tanner.
Speaking of Burrow, I can't not tell you this story. I don't think I've ever told you this, but Vicente Padilla pitched in the major leagues for a long time, was a very good pitcher. He was from Nicaragua. And the Diamondbacks went to Nicaragua to sign him. And Buck Showalter went there to sign him. And they signed him like in the middle of a field. And they offered him this money. And he accepted the contract. But he said, because he came to the signing on a burro. Okay, he didn't come in a car. He came in a burro, and he said, "I'm gonna need like $1,500 more in my contract so I can get someone to take care of my burro." That's how the signing went. He agreed to the contract, but he needed a little extra money to make sure his burro was well cared for. Is that great or what? Only in baseball.
Is this a great game or what?
Yes, exactly. All right, Jeff.
All right, Dad.
So
big shout out. Thank you, Jhoan.
Right.
Thank you, Jhoan, for that great list. What is your Team Tim list about to wrap up today's show?
All right. Well, we had a baseball game at a racetrack the other day in, the Bristol Motor Speedway. And, Murray Cook is the guy who puts together these stadiums. It's unbelievable how they can build a baseball stadium inside a motor track like that. He did everything in England. I've had many long chats with him. Whenever Major League Baseball goes to a strange site, he comes in and builds a field there to make sure it's a perfectly manicured field so nobody gets hurt. So I know nothing about NASCAR, but I had to come up with the all-NASCAR team from Major League Baseball as a tribute to playing a Major League Baseball game at a racetrack. So I looked up all the NASCAR drivers that I could and found baseball players with the same first or last name. So Charles,
great idea.
Let's see how many of these you can get. Charles Johnson is my catcher. So who's the NASCAR with the last name Johnson?
Jimmy Johnson.
Way to go. All right. Michael Busch is our first baseman. You fill in the blanks. Let's see how good you are.
All right, Kyle Busch.
Good.
Right.
Joe Gordon won the MVP in the American League one year.
Jeff Gordon, of course.
Buddy Bell is the third baseman. I don't think you'll ever get this, but because I don't know anything, but Christopher Bell is a NASCAR driver. Ken Hamlin is our shortstop. Who's
Denny Hamlin?
Way to go, Jeff! I'm
one.
really happy. I'm really proud of you. I grew up watching a guy named Bob Allison play the outfield. You got that one, Bobby Allison. And Bob Allison went by Bob Allison, not Bobby Allison. But yes, there's a NASCAR driver, Bobby Allison. Randy Elliott played for the Giants in the 70s. Wasn't very good, but do you know an Elliott?
Chase Elliott. Of course,
Jeff, you're way better at this than I was.
Dad, I'm a country music morning show host. I used to go to Las Vegas Motor Speedway all the time. I did an event at Dover Motor Speedway last year. I know my racing.
All right. Well, I don't. Josh Reddick is an outfielder. I've never heard of this guy either. Do you know a Reddick in the NASCAR world?
No.
Okay, Tyler Reddick is one of them. Dave Wallace is one of our two pitchers.
Bubba Wallace.
Jeff, you are really good at this. And
Dad, I wanted to name, if we had a son, we had a daughter, McKinley. If we had a son, I wanted to name him Bubba. And Emily said, as a nickname? And I said, no, as his legal name. And she about divorced me on the spot.
She should have, if you're going to go that direction. Look, Bubba's a great name. It's just shouldn't be it's a great nickname, nothing else. And our last one is Nick Mears, pitcher.
Nick Mears. I don't got
Casey Mears.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I wanted to end on a high note there.
Right. Jeff, you did great. That is our all NASCAR team. Okay. We have another, and we'll get, all right, here's what we'll do for Thursday's episode, Jeff. There's a pitcher in the major leagues who made his debut this year. His name is Joe Rock. Okay. ROCK. Now, I've already come up with my team, and I'm going to leave it up to our listeners and our viewers. We're going to have a competition on Thursday to see who can come up. Now, you have to determine what what the category is. Joe Rock is the jumping off point for our, that will be Team Tim on Thursday. We'll also do From Ozzy to Oral. We'll also do Best of All Tim. We'll have our takeaways, Quirkjians. But tomorrow, Jeff, who do we have? Tell us one more time.
Oh, we have Steve Phillips tomorrow, former Mets general manager, turned now into the morning show host on Sirius XM with our buddy Eduardo, and also obviously a contributor and analyst to MLB Network. And that one, I mean, so many things to look forward to, but talking about Eduardo with Steve Phillips, because Eduardo is as close to this show as you could possibly get. He was our first ever guest before we even knew what we were doing. He was our guest, and he kicked off this season as our first guest of the regular season as well. Him talking about, oh, it was so iconic.
Yeah, it was great. And I don't want to ruin anything for anybody, but I'm certainly not making fun or anything or poking it. But Steve Phillips, somebody wanted to kill him when he was the general manager over a trade that he made. We're not going to tell you who the player was, but this was a legitimate thing. Somebody wanted to kill him, literally kill him, based on a trade that he made. Just tune in tomorrow and he'll tell you the whole story.
Make sure to listen right here on the feed. Subscribe, follow, leave a rating, share it with a friend, all the good stuff. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, thank you for being a part of our family.